there seems like there's a tremendous amount of data that is telling a lot of major stories about the farm economy. Where does one start when you go to pitch something to a congressman? Where do you start saying, hey, this needs to be changed?
Well, first of all, I've got one of those robots from Elon Musk. That's the only way I can keep up this level of output and this much travel. But, I think a lot of times we get asked to try to tell the story on what's happening on farms and ranches around the country. I mean, my team at Terrain, our farm credit that we work with, I mean, they're talking to farmers every single day. They know what's happening, but how do we tell that story to a broader audience? How do we tell that story on Capitol Hill or even to the White House for that matter?
Now, there's a lot of stories in there, and I could keep you here for the rest of the day, but we can't do that. What's the main thing that you want farmers to tell members of Congress that, hey, this needs to be fixed?
Well, I think they've been pretty effective in that the last few years. I mean, I think, you go back to before the One Big Beautiful Bill, you go back to before the American Relief Act. For several years in a row, farmers were hitting Capitol Hill saying, we need a new farm bill. We need more farm in the farm bill. And I think Chairman Bozeman and then Ranking Member Bozeman, but Chairman Thompson saw the writing on the wall at the end of last year that we needed, some sort of economic relief to help farmers dealing with low prices and high input costs. So they were able to get $10 billion then. And then as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, you had the historic investment in crop insurance and Title I farm programs. But farmers, they recognize they're in a tough environment now, particularly our soybean growers, and they've been pretty vocal that while they want markets, they want trade, not aid, they need some sort of bridge until these markets are restored.
Now, you indicated at the conference here today that China should be buying a lot more soybeans if the Phase 1 agreement had been continued. But the Phase 1 agreement seemed to be phased out, and I'm not sure what opportunities would there have been.
Well, I mean, they bought $38 billion worth of agricultural products in 2023, in that calendar year. But then they started to phase out. And you go back to 2024, could there have been efforts to say, hey, we know that you were supposed to continue on a trajectory to continue making purchases at least through 2025. Could you have gone to some sort of consultations or mediation? We didn't see that. And I think farmers are feeling that lost market today.
Do you feel there is a chance for some agreement with China?
I'm optimistic that the highest levels of our government are paying attention. That's a fact. And when you hear President Trump say last week that I'm going to take care of the farmers, we're going to use tariff revenues to do it, I think they recognize that farmers are facing some pretty tough financial conditions. 70% of our exports to China still happen by April, and they've not bought a single soybean. So I think people are paying attention. I'm hopeful. I don't want to say 100%, but I think we're ultimately going to get a deal done that benefits American farmers and ranchers.
Okay, now that who knows when that might be done, but a lot of farmers are thinking, well, China says it's just about loaded up with all the soybeans they need until Brazil's new crop comes out.
Well, that they did stock up on beans in advance. I mean, they've had a stocks to use ratio in the 30% for a few years now. So they've got more in inventory than what we typically ship them. So can they draw down their inventories and wait for the next Brazilian crop? That's a possibility, but it does also include some risks. They have to depend on Mother Nature ultimately delivering that crop, and Stu, she's a heck of a business partner.
Something that I have been fascinated with your position on a lot of things is the fact that we think, well, we need, the world is growing, population's growing, we need more food, we're going to have bigger markets. But you have looked at a lot of statistics and indicated that population may be headed back down in the not too distant future, and in some countries it already is.
That's the key, right? In some countries it already is. In China, it's already happened. In the European Union, it's happened. In Japan and South Korea, it's happened. But it's not just my research. We have a team of economists at Terrain that have looked at these global population projections and do recognize that in the top markets where we do business, there are fewer and fewer mouths to feed every single year, and we're not exporting into those growing markets, both from a population perspective or an income perspective.
Okay, one of those growing markets is Africa, and I don't see a whole lot of U.S. products going to Africa. Is it though?
There aren't. Only about 2% of our exports go to Africa. But again, the big shrink, the population trends that we're looking at, that's a longer game. It's a longer horizon. And if you want to develop a foothold in that market, you got to start somewhere. And that's where looking at the doubling of MAP and FMD funding, can we start working in a particular region to build a foothold so they can see the high quality products that we have here.
Okay. As the White House looks at twisting arms around wherever, are they doing any of that in Africa right now, or is that just a market that they've just kind of ignored?
Well, I think and we just saw last week, the Secretary announced some new initiatives on trade. I believe she is allocating $238 million of the trade promotion money to find and develop those markets. But it's of my opinion that we do need to start focusing more heavily in some of those growing markets.
Okay. John, I could talk to you the rest of the day, as you well know.
My flight's not till 7, so we're good.
Tell me what I've not asked about that you want farmers to know.
I mean, there's nothing that I told you or nothing that I said today that they don't already know. I mean, they're living this every single day, and the challenge is we've been living in this world now for several years. Input costs went up in 2021. They never came down. Commodity prices after the Russian invasion of Ukraine came down sharply. Sectors of agriculture are hurting. So no, there's not really anything I can say that every listener that you have doesn't already know.